My skin is black.
What you looking
My
at?
skin
Yeah,
is black.
I feel so good to be black right now.
is black.
What you looking?
Welcome to episode 121 of the Black in Fashion podcast. Guess what, guys? We are back. It is season 4 and it's also our 4-year anniversary. I know you guys missed us, but I hope you got a chance to catch up on the 120 episodes that we released further. I wanted to make sure that I came back strong with swinging with dope guests, and make sure you guys are benefiting and learning from the podcast, being inspired and being motivated. And I'm just so happy to be back in the studio, and I am more than ecstatic to have my first guest of season 4. It is Weston Hall. Weston Hall is a New York born artist and a creative entrepreneur, but he is now based in Miami, Florida. He is the brainchild behind pierrè-vonts, I hope I said that right, an invite-only designer fashion brand, and Oka, an invite-only designer furniture brand. Weston Hall produces art with this mission in mind: to inspire, to innovate, and enhance everyday life experiences through creative expression and design. Weston, thank you so much for joining us today. And if I said or pronounced any of those two things wrong, please correct me. I get talked about my accent all the time.
Thank you so much for having me. And the pronunciation was fine.
Okay. I'll tell you, that was a good one. I was like, ooh, I fucked that up. All right, so I like to start every podcast with just like a little icebreaker. It's called This or That. So you're just gonna tell me which thing you like over the other, okay?
Okay.
All right, so for guys, dad hats or fedoras?
Dad hats or fedoras?
Mm-hmm.
Dad hats.
V-neck or crew neck?
Crew neck.
Varsity or a bomber? No, varsity or a trench?
Varsity.
Varsity, okay. And are you a slim leg, or the flare legs is coming back?
I'm a slim at the moment.
You're slim at the moment. Okay, and last one, Adidas or Nike?
Nike.
Nike, okay. So I would like to start by you just giving us a little bit of background about yourself. I know you're from Brooklyn, but of course we got to know what borough you're actually from, and just a little bit about your background and how you came into the design world.
Cool. So
Go ahead.
So I'm actually from Rochester, New York.
Okay.
But I lived in Brooklyn for a little bit after I graduated from university, for about a year or so. And then I moved to Miami after that. And then I moved to Tokyo, Japan, which I think we'll get into later. And then now I'm back in Miami again. So I guess in terms of my background, where do you want me to start? What's a good?
I like people to start at childhood. When did the creative juices start flowing? What was the first item you designed, you touched, you sewed? Did Granny teach you how to sew? Did you learn on your own? But start at the bottom.
Okay, all right. So my grandma was a huge influence on me. She was our main caregiver. So in the sense of the art and the creative stuff, I kind of picked it up from her. She had gardens and just had fancy church dresses and hats and jewelry and stuff. So I think that subconsciously influenced me when I was younger, growing up. In terms of actually creating stuff, I started writing songs when I was really young. When I was young, probably around 2004 or so, I started writing songs and whatnot, just because I listened to hip hop a lot. I was influenced by the hip hop culture, the creative direction for the videos, the fashion, art, just the whole thing. So I started actually printing out lyrics from different artists I liked a lot, and I started just using that as references to write my own stuff. So I did that for a few years actually. But in terms of creativity, as I got older, I started focusing more on making money. So I actually started doing landscaping for a while, and the music stuff wasn't really that important to me. And then after a few years of doing landscaping and going to university, I met this kid. He was into the music world for more Caribbean Afrobeat type stuff, and he was like, "Hey, yo, man, try rapping." So then years later, after I was writing songs as a child, I was older in college now, and just making these songs in my dorm room basically for a while. And so during university, I actually kind of popped off locally, as an artist in a sense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like I was like doing shows locally and like making a little money here and there and just whatnot as a full time student. So yeah, like I guess in my early years, like yeah, like my whole creative side has kind of been influenced by that, and then in terms of fashion and stuff, like since I was younger, I've always been fascinated by fashion. I would take my grandma's like jewelry and stuff and like you know make it more masculine or like would like take like different outfits and from mix. It's like use that as a way to be creative, right? Like we would go to Salvation Army, I would like shop at thrift stores and all these different places to get retro stuff and kind of mix it, match my fashion. So like that's like where the fashion started. But I never thought I could really do fashion until I got older and like my mentors and whatnot were like, hey, like this is what you're really into. Like you should put more energy into it. So as I got older and whatnot, that's when I started really getting into fashion. Started like designing pieces and T-shirts, and designs and like actual canvas art.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, is there one that you prefer or the over the other? Like, do you enjoy painting more than creating clothes, or do you have like a, just a different love for both of them?
Yeah, it's a different love for both of them. Yeah, it's like each one has its I guess experience.
Gotcha. Can you tell me about your biggest accomplishment thus far and how that made you feel?
Biggest accomplishment I would say thus far is just being able to really help my family and my friends, whether it be through like knowledge, whether it be through like helping them network with people, whether it be like financially. I think like that's my biggest accomplishment and what I'm most proud of.
Okay, all right. And what would you say has been your biggest obstacle thus far?
Biggest obstacle, I would say being black in America. But uh,
Yeah, being black in fashion is definitely a thing. Can you tell me about a time when you experienced any like diversity within your brand and like just growing that, kind of really made you, take a step back and maybe like just look at the world a little differently?
well, I mean that's like something I've dealt with my whole life, right? In a sense of being black, right? So it's not that it's like new to me or anything, or that I notice it. I'm not to a point where like I'm like in like I've been at events and stuff like that, but I'm not to a point where like I'm on a massive stage yet, and I have like a lot of people, I guess what's the word, like critiquing me or like talking about me and stuff. So I haven't experienced to like that degree, but just in general throughout my life, I've had to deal with adversity, racism. My background is I come from poverty, so yeah, just like all those experiences and like the adversity I went through growing up, and I mean that I go through now has just made me, I don't know, just be more thick-skinned and just more focused on like, like what my goals are in the sense of helping the world or like creating fashion or like, building relationships as opposed to thinking what people or caring what people say or think about me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Have you ever read the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
Um, like I kind of read it. Like I like had like through YouTube like audiobooks and whatnot, and like like the general I guess message from the story I understand very well. So
Gotcha. Makes sense. So, one of our segments that we like to do is called "It's a Success" or "It's a Disaster." Can you tell me about a time within your career that something really, really went, completely to shit to hell, but it was a learning experience from you, and you maybe have changed the way you did business in the future?
hmm. um Well, I mean, like that's like the life, right? I mean, for me, like I like as when I was younger, right? I had my first business when I was 13. I was doing landscaping for several years, just
Mm-hmm.
walking around and talking to people, getting my own clients, negotiating all that stuff when I was 13 to probably like 21 or 22 is when I stopped doing it. So I did that. I did that for a while, but then like in university, like I had all these ideas. Like I told you, I was doing music at some point. I like, started consulting business. I'm like this college kid, like trying to consult people. Like what? But I tried that. I tried doing, yeah, just like these different business ideas and whatnot. Like as I was growing up, and then, but like from each experience, I learned something, right? And then like this next idea, or this next thing you curate, or this next path that like you build on and stuff, right? Like you can apply those learnings and whatnot. But what kind of happened was like now where I'm at in life, I was able to combine all those things I was passionate about and like I wanted to do. Like now I can do all of it now, and like be able to live off of it and and whatnot. So I think like just in general, like trying a lot of things and failing at them. You know, whether it be like from like a business perspective or like I guess like from like relationship perspective, whatever the case is, I think just like failing is very important, and that I think that's a key reason why I'm able to be where I'm at in life right now.
Gotcha. I like to hear that. What would you say, or who would you define as your target demographic and consumer?
It's more so like my core fan base are people who are into like luxury art and like luxury designer wear. So like my fan base are usually people who wear Gucci, who wear Balenciaga, Versace, those type of brands. That's like my core. But then I also have like kind of, I mean, in my terms, and like what people say, like a cult type of following, where it's like more underground, streetwear and stuff, because it's invite only and exclusive, limited quantity. Like people are very hyped about it. So like that's the other side of it, you know, like these hype beast type people.
Gotcha. And where are you manufacturing? Are you manufacturing in the U.S., overseas? Like, where are you getting your clothing produced at?
Yes, it's here in the U.S.
Gotcha. And if you were like to give advice to like a new designer that was starting out, would you recommend that they manufacture overseas or in the U.S.? Like, have you had experience with manufacturing overseas or just U.S. based?
Yeah, a while ago I used to do overseas when I lived in Tokyo. But now I'm back in the States, I had to change my whole supply chain and operations. But like I personally say, like, if you can have people help you here in the States, that would be the best decision. It might cost more, but like if you're focused on quality or not, and I think that extra cost is worth it, and you're also supporting, you know, our economy here, and like I guess providing jobs for people here, and then like you're not supporting like that negative stuff that happens overseas.
Definitely. And would you say that you kind of fall in line with like the fashion calendar? Like, are you doing like, spring, summer, winter, fall, winter, or are you kind of like just, dropping product as it comes to you? Like, I guess I'm more so want to know like, what does the design process look like for you?
Nah, it's like my design process is really just like I just drop stuff when I want to when I feel like it. Like I haven't released anything in probably 2 years, um, since Tokyo, but like that's because I've been like actually spending time building, a business and like actually like building my craft, working on my craft, and like networking and like doing all some stuff that I think is more important than just putting myself out there. Just to
Absolutely.
make sure that my brand and my pieces and everything I create is authentic, so that reflects and people want to buy it and people support it and whatnot, right? So, like in terms of like how I guess operate, um, like um, yeah, like I just like kind of just drop based on like how I feel. Well, I mean, I guess the goal is moving forward. Like once I'm at a spot where I feel like I want to release new pieces and whatnot, then like my process will be just like releasing when I want to, and just making sure that the pieces mean something to me, and that it's authentic to me, and my brand and like I guess my vision. That's like the most important thing. So I'm not like I don't care about the calendar times where they have like the events and stuff. It's not about that. It's about like okay, like this is art, and like this is you know, it's something that could like help someone else or like inspire someone else. That's
Gotcha.
something more.
Was it hard for you to take that step back? For me, of course, I work in the manufacturing and product development world, so I work with so many designers, and I've just worked with a lot over like in the last 3 years, I've worked with a lot of brands, and I find that they get discouraged if they don't have sales like right off the back, or like their designs don't like pop right off the back. So, did you find it hard for you to like take a step back and really focus like on building the foundation first, or was it like did you have to go through something to get there, or was it just like you just kind of popped up like, no, this is what I'm gonna do?
To be honest, like I just like my whole thing, like how I know that like I think like this is my purpose. I guess part of my purpose is because I just did this like off of like my own inspiration and like me like by my like me just building stuff and not even saying anything. Like I built and was creating clothes for a whole year before I even told anyone. The only person I knew was my girlfriend at the time. Like she was the one that was there and whatnot. But like besides her, like yeah, like no one knew I was doing any of this like painting or designing or like building this brand or this legacy like for a whole year and a half probably. So like but it's because I didn't care. It's not like I was like walking around like, oh yeah, I'm a fashion designer and stuff. No, I was building something and just expressing myself through things that I'm passionate about, which is art and fashion. So like that's kind of how it started, and then just doing that consistently, focusing on like like is this true to me, like my my vision, like like to me as a designer, all this stuff, like focusing on that and just like creating stuff with like no influence from the outside world or like no deadlines or whatever, anything like that is like I think what created this brand and like this experience, and then also me as a person, me as an artist. I think just because I was doing it off of like sheer passion as opposed to like money and whatnot, right? And I think like that will reflect. People will notice that, and then you'll start connecting with the right people, meeting the right people, like naturally if you're doing it for off of passion. Whereas like if it was money, right? Like what happens is we start to overthink the process, and then sometimes you kind of fail because you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. If you was to give one piece of advice, one to a new designer, what would you tell them?
One piece of advice I would say, like believe in yourself and your vision. Honestly, just believe in yourself and your vision, and then work hard. I don't know if that's one, but like I count those
That's a
all.
good one.
Those are all equally important in my opinion.
Definitely is, without doubt. Question for you. So, how did you? Well, tell me about Tokyo. Like, I'm very interested to know like how it was living there. Like, did you absorb a lot of like design, inspiration like from the culture, and was it different? Like, I'd love to know how it is to live in a place like that.
Yeah, it was amazing, honestly, and like that's like where like I really started like I guess aligning with myself was in Tokyo, just because all the art and fashion there, right? Like where I lived at was right in central Tokyo, next to Harajuku and like Roppongi. So I was around that all the time, like the beautiful fashion, the great art, the architecture. And yeah, I think overall, like for my experience, it was great, but um, you know, there was like I guess certain things I didn't like about living there. I wasn't a big fan of the food personally. Like the people were nice there, and also like I guess the main thing, like being like an African American, is being like a minority in general in Japan is not the easiest thing.
Hmm.
Right? Like for me, I wasn't really too in tune with it. I wasn't paying too much attention to it, but like I knew what was happening, and here and there I would have experiences where you know people would treat me a certain way because of how I looked. But I mean, I didn't let that really influence the experience too much. But then, like in terms of like the other foreigners there and stuff, that was a lot of fun. I met like a lot of friends from different countries who had lived there for a while or who just moved there to Tokyo. So that was an awesome experience. Yeah, I think overall it's just a very inspiring city.
Gotcha. I love that. I love it. So, would you ever go? Would you ever go back?
Like to visit and stuff, and to like travel and to have like exhibits and whatnot. But to live, no, it's very hard if you don't know Japanese. Like
I can imagine.
it's definitely an experience. Before-
Definitely. I can only imagine like you just trying to sit there with like Google Translator, like trying to figure that out.
Exactly, using my hands and like pointing the things.
Right. Like that has to be difficult for sure.
I mean, it builds character though, right? I come back here and life's a lot easier. So
Yeah,
that was the cool thing about it. It was way easier I appreciated the smaller things a lot more once I came back here.
definitely. I know that had to be difficult for sure. So, you said you hadn't put out anything in about 2 years. So I'd love to know what's next for you.
What's next for me?
Yeah.
I think I think like soon I'm gonna start putting pieces out there. I started getting more active on social media after not posting for several years and things like
That's how I was
that.
gonna ask you next. I was like, so what's up with your social?
Yeah, yeah, I'm back on it now. But yeah, just like honestly, like I'm just gonna start putting stuff out there probably. And actually like live pieces. I'll be at events. I was in New York Fashion Week not too long ago. Um, yeah, so like I'll start being like more active and whatnot, and I guess yeah, I mean like just keep creating pieces and like experiences and enhancing everyday life experiences through my art. That's really I guess my goal.
Gotcha. Makes absolute sense for sure. Okay, so I like to end our episodes with it's a muse. So, is there any book or mantra or affirmation that you like to share that keeps you motivated and keeps you going?
Keeps me going. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like I said earlier, like like just believe in yourself, for your vision, believe in your team, like stay down, stay humble, stay grounded, but work hard. Just be a good person, honestly. Like life's a lot easier and more enjoyable if you're just a good person.
Gotcha. And can you throw out your social media handles so that people know like where to follow you and like how to keep up with you? And of course, I'll put this in the show notes as well.
Yeah, and just I just use Instagram, so Weston X Hall on Instagram.
Weston X Hall. All right, Weston X Hall. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait for this to come out. I enjoyed your conversation today and learn a little bit more about your brand, and I can't wait to see what's next from you.
Thank
Quick
you for
question
having
though,
me.
before I leave though, just I have to know, how'd you get into furniture design?
Well, it's I'm not like I'm just learning. I'm in the early stages of trying different programs for it, but I won't release anything for probably a year or so or more. I'm just like early stage learning and connecting with people who actually work on it now.
Gotcha. That's dope because I'm like fabric. I just anything you can create like from home decor to furniture. I just think it's really really dope and like architecture. And I love it. I forgot to ask that earlier. I was like I really wanted to know that too. Gotcha. What Weston? Can you repeat your Instagram name again? I was looking for it so I can make sure I'm following you as well.
It is Weston, Weston, and then Xhall.
Gotcha. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, you have an amazing day, and as I always say, stay black.
You guys too. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and please keep doing great things and inspiring our community. We got
Thank
this.
you. You have an amazing day, love.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.